Many thanks again for joining us, and we appreciate you for doing this with us a second time this Sunday morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Also a reminder that Uchenna will join us subsequently. But so let me get started. Now, earlier yesterday when we were having this conversation, we wanted to get a full picture of why the lawmakers decided to not only just put in this bill, but it passing through to a second reading and getting almost a full support for this compulsory voting bill.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to be on your screen and speak a little to the issue. The bill, which is number HB 1930, being sponsored by the Speaker of the House, for mandatory to amend the Electoral Act and to make it mandatory for all Nigerians of a majority age to vote. I want to start from the perspective of the legislature, as in what is our duty? Our duty is to make laws. Our duty is to oversight the current oversight functions of the executives, as well as represent our people, good representation. And in terms of making laws, we are talking about democracy. So every law we make is a law that should aid democracy for the betterment of the people. From this perspective, you can see that the sponsor of the bill, who is our Speaker, the Right Honorable Tajudeen Abbas, and the House being worried about the percentage of participation of citizens in voting, where we are talking about legitimizing elected positions, the officers that are elected. A situation where in 2023 we had just about 28% of registered voters, participating. You can see that if one stood up and said it's legitimate, based on the number of, we have over 90 something million people registered, and you have only 28% of that participating in the voting. So how legitimate is that election? These questions try to make the people look at the credibility, censor the credibility of the elections. And being worried, the thoughts come in. How do we get the people to vote?
Honorable Obuzor, I think you might have muted your device unknowingly, so we stopped hearing you at the end there. Could you please check your device?
Fundamental rights and everything. We have the opponents to this view in terms of looking at where we are in Nigeria. This, I believe, is the reason why we are even discussing this morning. Because you look at the reasons why people will not vote, where we look at the unfulfilled promises, insecurity, especially, and if you are bringing a bill to make the people, to mandate them to go and vote, they're looking at you as being insensitive. Because, those in the western, northwestern and northeastern region being troubled by terrorism, you want them, those who are registered there, you want them to go there and vote. So we now look at information and communication with the people. There are a lot of things that are not known to people. There are a lot of solutions to these issues, even if it was mandated. People could transfer. But the point remains, are we ready at this point to mandate people to go and vote?
Honorable Obuzor, you do make very important points there with the submission that you have just given. One can see that the legislature is actually concerned about the credibility of the elections and how it is skewed when one side actually chooses not to vote because perhaps maybe apathy or despondency. But then we also have to ask where research comes in these laws that are being suggested here. Was there any research into exactly why there is such disengagement when it comes to voting from Nigerians? Perhaps maybe it might seem that it is a symptom of something else. Now, making punitive measures for a symptom isn't exactly attacking the problem at its core. So how much research was put in? Why are people not voting or coming out to vote? And is this one of many symptoms? Because if you have to have punitive measures for not voting, then you have to punish people for other things as well that are maybe symptoms from a bigger problem. Do you agree with me there?
I agree totally with you. You know, the legislature, we are all fitted with aids. And like the honorary speaker has, he has good hands around him. I myself, when I got a hold of the journal that had the bill, because normally when the bill is gazetted, the journal comes around, I tried to research a little. I looked into some history. You know, when you look at the countries like Australia, Rome, you know, in the 6th century, you know, where you would have some kind of reproach if you do not participate in voting, you know. And then you look at Australia, you know, their votes never came up to 95% participation until mandatory voting was introduced. But that is not to say that in terms of enforcement, there are a lot of issues that come with it. The House has done its duty to bring it to the fore. Now, recall that the bill is not yet passed. It has to go through third reading, where there will be a lot of discussions and debates with the civil society, with the public, where if it has to be thrown away, it will be thrown away for now, maybe due to the non-readiness of the structure, the nation's structure to handle this. We're looking at enforcement, we're looking at coverage, we're looking at people being able to vote electronically, we're looking at postal voting and all that. These are ways that you can use to mitigate the stress. You can check in ancient Rome. It was the voting was done at one point where people have to travel down there.
Honorable Obuzor, I just wanted to
yeah.
I wanted to point out something. These other samples that you're mentioning might have more ideal circumstance around them. I bring to your notes the experience of plenty Nigerians in the last election, and we actually had some of these instances televised where people were disenfranchised, people were actually threatened not to vote. One has to ask, what reform has come that way? Has anybody been punished for actually taking somebody's right away to vote first, before I am being mandated to vote?
Yeah, we have situations where people have been incarcerated for, you know, issues of disenfranchisement during the elections, issues of violence and all that. We have those in record, you know, but the fact still remains that security challenges we have in the country is a problem, is a big problem. People don't go to vote because of those. People don't go to vote because you make your campaign and you make your promises. At the end of the day, a lot of people do not fulfill said to the beginning of elections, like you're mentioning. So people don't feel, oh, I go to the polling station, I do my voting, and at the end of the day, whatever is announced. So there is a lot of work to be done, also in the voting process, in terms of securing the votes, in terms of access to voting. Look at the rigors that go on during distribution of materials, for example. Some people start the elections in the evening. People cannot, by the evening time, a lot of people that were on the lines, they've left the lines. The lines are now vacant. So the structure needs work, for sure. So that does not throw away the fact that participation has to be encouraged, one way or the other.
Right.
So the legislature has done, the legislators, we've done our job to bring this to the further. Look, this is a problem in Nigeria, and we have to face it.
Right.
And by this bill, we are calling on everybody, the executives, the civil society, the MBA, everybody should come together and then let us make participation work.
Honorable.
If we are to address it from the root of these issues, the structure should be put in place.
Honorable.
The security has to move. Yeah, I'm listening.
Right, Honorable. The NBA has flouted this and condemned this bill, this mandatory voting bill. Simply, one of them is that it infringes on human rights of participation, human rights of association, and the freedom of fellowship. There are individuals who are, by their religion and by their faith, are forbidden to vote or participate in any civic responsibility. In fact, they're forbidden for blood transfusion when it comes to their health as well, right? And so it begs to ask the question about, where the lines are being blurred with this bill, if it goes and is signed into law, or as it scales into second reading and a third reading and it gets to the presidency's desk. Where are the lines that are being blurred? Are the House not worried that it's infringing on the rights of Nigerians?
If I can recall, glancing through the Constitution, and then we're looking at things like right to human, the dignity of a person, and I think I saw a clause where you can't be forced. Your rights cannot be infringed upon. If you are a Christian and your religion says do not vote, nobody will force you nobody should force you do not vote anyway. I think civic duties, the Constitution said, but for civic duties. So during civic duty, you can compel, not by
but it criminalizes. The bill itself criminalizes. It criminalizes either you are held in jail or you have to pay a fine of 100,000 naira. Now, talking about money, right? The INEC itself has received a lump sum from 2022. During the conduction of the 2023 election, the federal government expenditure was projected to be 17.13 trillion naira. That's an aggregate from 2022. Now, if you compare that in 2025, INEC also proposed a budget of 126 billion. And while the Federal Ministry of Finance allocated about 40 billion naira to INEC, out of that money is voter education. Has the INEC fulfilled its duty and responsibility as it pertains voter education and registering more Nigerians and making the process as seamless and as hitch-free and fail-proof as possible for Nigerians as opposed to this bill? Have the House held INEC accountable when it comes to the arm of itself, which is voter education? Honorable.
Accountability is key. We assume that we are about 200 million people in Nigeria, but a census hasn't been done. I can't remember the last time a census was done. But on the register, we have about 95 million. If we have 200 million people in Nigeria and 95 million are registered, it means just a little below half of the people have been captured. Although we can take into consideration that not all of them are of the age 18 to vote. So when you do those statistics, maybe we can find out that, okay, probably they are, close to, but naturally they have not covered all grounds. And it's obvious due to the situation we find the country, the limitations, the constraints in different regions. INEC is not bulletproof to go into some certain regions to do certain work. We've had instances where agents were killed. People working with INEC were killed. Well, I can say that Nigeria should be seen as a work in progress. And it's not like built in bricks, It's out there. The issue should be brought out there, which has been done. We're not saying it's a must. The bill must not go through. But at the end of the day, the issue must be made known. And then if you talk of in terms of voter education, I believe a lot more has to be done. A lot more has to be done about that. from my perspective.
All right, Honorable Obuzor, thank you very much. But we have to bring in now our other guest, and that is Uchenna Akingbade, legal practitioner. She was with us yesterday, if you remember, and we asked her questions regarding the rights of voters. Uchenna, you're welcome again. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, yesterday you spoke to us regarding the rights of people, but I want to ask what responsibility the legislature has when it comes to this bill here, criminalizing abstaining from voting. However, when it comes to criminalizing those who have taken the rights to vote away from people, it seems nothing or very little has been done. Honorable Obuzor actually says that it is on record that some have been arrested and they are facing punitive measures. But we haven't seen so much. We have notable people caught on camera who actually told people not to vote for specific parties, yet they still walk the streets of Nigeria free. Nothing's happened to them. So what responsibility for the legislature when it comes to these issues?
I believe you've already captured it. You've already said most of it. I think they should strengthen the punitive measures that are contained in the Electoral Act. And not just, is it more of an issue of the legislature or for it now to be enforced? Because the legislature makes the laws. And there are penalties for these actions that you have mentioned, already enshrined in the Electoral Act. Are they being enforced? Does the state have the willpower to actually enforce these crimes that we have all noticed? Some where you won't have actual evidence. I think the issue is more about enforcement rather than the law, because the law is there. There are penalties for these actions. It now falls on the state to execute these laws that have been provided.
Now, Uchenna, I'm really glad we have you here because we've seen very notable, lawyers and legal practitioners in the political space who have come out and voiced their, their disdain or displeasure, or just that they have said that this proposed mandatory voting bill should not take center stage. Do you think that this bill it will solve any problem? Do you think that more work needs to be done? Did they need to remove the part of mandatory? Because there is an issue with voter engagement and voter apathy and Nigerians turning out to vote, right? What will be a real solution to that problem?
I said this yesterday. I got a little time to speak on this yesterday. There's voter apathy without a doubt, and the numbers that are recorded, those accredited voters, it's okay. It's not bad. So the difference lies between the registered voters and those who actually turn up to vote. Different things could be responsible for this. People may have left the country. Some people may be sick. Well, if someone's religion forbids them from voting, then I don't expect that it should be on the voters register in the first place. Different things. And then you now check the terrain, conduciveness of voting on that day. Like I mentioned yesterday, in the last elections, people were going out to vote and there was so much turmoil in different polling units. So someone who has not left the house and has seen all that is going on the news, how do you think that person is going to step out to go and vote and endanger their lives simply because you want to exercise your civic duty? I said yesterday, and I reiterate my point. The first step, there's sensitization, yes, but I think there was ample sensitization during the last electoral cycle. Sensitization, yes. After sensitization, you need to create a credible electoral process. You need to make people have faith in the system. First of all, even after registering, to go and collect your voter's card is such a hassle. Can't there be a better way to go about this? Can we think about embracing electronic voting? Although The question now will be, are we really ready for that? We can see the saga that is going on with JAM and, the exam centers and everything. Are we really ready for electronic voting? But we have to take the bull by the horns. We can see what happened with the rivers. So that may be a more conducive way to go about it, encourage people to do more. A lot of people on the voters register are in diaspora. They are disenfranchised by the fact that they are in diaspora. So rather than looking for how to make voting mandatory, shouldn't we start looking into these other things that can make voting more appealing for people to come on board and come out and cast their votes? And most especially, I believe that the biggest issue for people is that they have no trust in the system. They have no faith in the system. So our electoral system, our electoral process, it's not encouraging at all. People will say, do my votes actually count? People must have confidence to know that their votes count. When there's that trust, you don't have to beg people to come out and vote. They will come out by themselves willingly. So there's a lot of work to be done, and quite frankly, making voting mandatory for people 18 years and above, that is the last step. That is, we're not even supposed to be touching that step until we have fixed these other issues that we have. Sensitization.
Right.
Give us an easier system to deal with.
Right.
Trust.
Yeah, I mean, Uchenna, and speaking of trust, and sensitization, very quickly for Honorable, if this bill be passed into law, what will enforcement look like? How are you going to track every Nigerian who voted or didn't vote? Because you just said that the census has not been concluded, has not been done in, 20 years? And so we don't know how many Nigerians actually are there. We don't have the addresses. Addressing is an issue. Formal addressing is an issue, especially in Lagos and other parts of, the hard-to-reach area. So the question is, how is this going to be enforced? How would you be able to hold Nigerians accountable? How will you know who voted or who didn't vote?
Vague aspects of the issues with this, with implementing this bill. Like my co-participant here rightfully said, we are actually not totally ready for this enforcement. A lot has to be done. It would require a lot of funds also. A lot of, like you just mentioned, the census, a lot of process cleaning, electoral process cleaning. She mentioned the voter card issue. It's only 85 million thereabout out of 95 million collected voters card. We had 95 registered voters. Only 85 collected their voters card before elections. And then the security issues. So enforcing it will be a huge task, but we have to start somewhere. So we can start by the time we get to the lawmakers. I want to really make this clear. This has come to the fore, and this will also re-emphasize the fact that the state has a lot to do about security. The state has a lot to do about holding and implementing and enforcing our laws, holding people accountable for defaulting. The state has a lot to do for encouraging good electoral processes, supporting it, funding it, and then allowing the National Assembly oversight these bodies to ensure that they do what they're supposed to do with these funds and make electoral processes clean. So this bill has only brought, the importance of voter participation into being. Like I said, it's a process. First of all, it has gone through second reading, fine. It is not the end. After second reading comes the real technical issues, dissecting, and they say when nothing is put down in paper, no work is done. So the technical issues will be done and things will be put down on paper. We will not assume. At that point, the public has a final say whether or not this bill will go through. And believe me, I know for sure that the intent of the House was to bring to the knowledge that participation is key to legitimize democracy.
Honorable Victor Obuzor, we want to say thank you very much. We actually have crossed into our second hour, but thank you very much for clarifying most of these, and we hope that we find a middle ground here, not just us, but well, everybody out there. Thank you very much also, Uchenna Akingbade for joining us again from yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. As yet, well, we close the curtain for this discussion. We do hope that conversations like this will continue as we push for a quest to deepen our democracy